Hey, it's Mr. Shrum, and I'm going to go through the lesson activities in the individual tutorials for biology, and I think this will help people get through these lessons a little more quickly without quitting. I noticed some people came to these lesson activity spots and then they kind of gave up and then just went to the mastery test directly. But working through these activities can help you and refresh any things you've learned in the lesson and then actually put it to use, which is always the most important part of learning. We don't do it just to take tests and see how much we can remember. This is about applying what we learn in our day-to-day lives. So here's an example of using the scientific method, and we're going to answer some questions in this activity. So, to start off, many farmers and gardeners compost their plant and animal waste. The living material naturally decays in compost bins, forming a dirt like substance that's very rich in nutrients. The next season, farmers use this substance as a natural fertilizer for their crops. So it saves them money, it saves them time in certain cases, and it's a win-win for a lot of different reasons. A biology student has grown tomato plants for several years. Until now, he used an artificial fertilizer formulated for tomato plants. This fertilizer caused his plants to grow faster and taller than they grew in unfertilized soil. The student wants to know whether using natural compost will cause his tomato plants to grow faster and taller than his artificial fertilizer. If you're growing flowers or stuff you're not necessarily going to eat, having artificial fertilizer, it's not going to kill you. And it will make certain flowering plants look very nice and grow very well. However, if you're growing a garden of vegetables and fruit that you want to consume, going that extra step and using natural compost and organic fertilizer may be a better thing to do since you're actually going to ingest it, and you would generally avoid, artificial or chemical pesticides as much as possible, right? Um, and this student wants to know, okay, so can natural compost actually perform as well as artificial fertilizer? Part A, what are the student's observations and inferences before he starts his investigation? Well, all right, so what does he observe? What is he inferring about? What is he kind of taking an educated guess about? And he's kind of logically thinking about, okay, so what's going to happen? The student has observed that artificial fertilizer makes his plants grow faster and taller than in plain soil. He knows that compost is a natural fertilizer. So he infers that compost will make his plants grow at a faster rate than they grow in plain soil. That is an inference. He's using what he's observed with artificial fertilizer, and he's inferring that a fertilizer made from a natural source can do the same. So, what's the student's scientific question? Does compost cause tomato plants to grow faster and taller than artificial fertilizer? So he went from inferring that compost can be competitive with artificial fertilizers, and now he's wondering, what can I test? Can I test that compost grows faster and taller than artificial fertilizer? Construct at least two possible hypotheses for the student's experiment. And these hypotheses, they have to be set up in a certain way. And I'll read them to you, and you tell me if you can see why these are set up the way they are. So the first one, the natural nutrients in compost will cause the tomato plants to grow at a faster rate than they grow when given artificial fertilizer. 2, the artificial fertilizer is formulated specifically for tomato plants, so it will cause the plants to grow at a faster rate than they grow when given compost. So these are testable. You can verify them, their validity, right? So moving on to part D, choose one of the hypotheses to make a prediction. Pick either one. The tomato plants will grow faster in tolerant soil with compost over a 30-day period. Bam. That's one possible answer. You can come up with another one too. How would you conduct your investigation? In your answer, explain independent and dependent variables. All right, so the dependent variable, the one depending on what you do with the other variable, is the growth rate of the plant. The independent variable is the stuff you are actually changing in the experiment. That is the type of fertilizer used over time. There will be 3 groups of tomato plants. One group is a control. You don't use any fertilizer. The second group will be planted in soil with artificial fertilizer, and the third group is planted with compost. So you have your control, artificial fertilizer, and compost groups. We're going to measure the height of the plants every 5 days over a 30-day period. How does the design, of your experiment control for outside factors that may affect the results? Controlling outside factors is very key because you want to know the independent variable is having the effect and not something you're not keeping an eye on, and that can lead to false results, shoddy scientific work. And one possible answer here is the seeds will all be planted at the same time, provided with the same amount of light and water. Light, water, and timing will help us control for other factors. 3 trials of the experiment will be conducted to improve the accuracy of the results. So once again, repeating the experiment again and again can help. How do you plan to analyze and communicate your results? We can show the growth of all 3 groups of plants over time using a line graph. Calculate the average final heights of all 3 groups after 30 days. And that's it for that lesson activity. So that's just a really brief overview of using the scientific method for a specific situation. And you do this in a way all throughout your life, whether you are consciously doing it or not. It's a very natural way of us looking at the world, testing out what works, what doesn't work, and then moving on from there. But if you have any questions, let me know, and I will help you as soon as I can. Message me in Canvas or email, and yeah, we'll take it from there. But until next time, have a good one. See you guys later. Bye-bye.